Could everyone start taking their seats, please? People will continue to come in throughout the event. Good evening. I am Chief Javaro Sims, and I'm a trustee here at St. John Missionary Baptist Church. Thank you for attending this Palm Beach County Sheriff and County Seat Judge Forum. So often, too many of us do not vote, and too many of us vote not understanding who or for what we're voting. Tonight, you will meet firsthand the candidates that will shape policy, determine resources that will have a direct impact on you and your community. Tonight, you will meet the candidates that are running for sheriff and county seat judge, county court judge. This forum is designed to provide you with information that would help you make an educated vote, as well as determining who you believe is better suited to serve your community. I must stress, this is not a debate, a free-for-all for personal attacks. Candidates, this is your opportunity to share with the audience who you are and what you stand for. Therefore, we're looking for substance. Be respectful. Tonight's forum is sponsored by St. John Missionary Baptist Church with the pastor, Johnny Barber, Unify, Faith in Florida, Boynton Beach Coalition of Clergy, NCBW, NAACP, Palm Beach County, and I. Note, we do not endorse. Do we have any organizations or candidates in the audience tonight? If so, stand and introduce yourselves.
I'm Jeff Jackson. I'm running for Port of Palm Beach.
Any organizations?
Palm Beach County Democratic Black Caucus.
Tony Robinson, Omega Psi Phi, Lambda Alpha Alpha Kappa.
Any other candidates or organizations? Now for the introduction of our moderator. Dr. Kristen Sims Hilton is a distinguished trailblazer in strategic leadership and media communication. She has earned her doctoral degree in leadership, emphasizing a blend of business, sociology, and psychology. Her extensive background in broadcast journalism began at Florida A&M University and continued learning on the global stage in international communications at Lynn University. Dr. Hilton's commendable 10 years of service in the United States Navy, alongside her global career, equipped her for skillfully navigate complex leadership challenges. As a host of the newly produced Leadership Lens podcast, Dr. Hilton combines her military precision, educational research, and media expertise to deliver compelling insights on leadership, inspiring audiences worldwide. Her work emphasizes the critical and complex aspects of what it means to be a strategic leader. The mission is to educate and inspire a transformation in how we view leaders, our management, and those in authority positions. Dr. Hilton's approach includes physical and emotional awareness, spiritually, innovation, adaptability, organizational learning, discernment, and empowerment. I introduce to you Dr. Kirsten Sims Hilton.
That's an impressive resume. Dr. Ashley Ridley is the executive director of Set Health Delray Beach and a distinguished holistic health pharmacist, community engagement strategist, and health equity advocate. With over 14 years of experience, Dr. Ridley has dedicated her career to serving community through her work in community, pharmacy, volunteer organizations for Black women, and various city and county boards. As a certified trainer for health equity, she educates and strategizes with healthcare professionals and community leaders to improve access to care and address social determinants of health in Palm Beach County. Dr. Ridley is a passionate advocate for facilitating positive change in the Black community, aiming to reduce healthcare costs, decrease the prevalence of chronic health conditions, and promote disease prevention. Believing in the power of self-healing, Dr. Ridley empowers her community to regain control over physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health by fighting against systems that promotes damaging habits within the Black community. She is now dedicated to creating strategic partnerships with local businesses, community organizations, city, community, state, and leadership to remove barriers that hinders the advancement of health equity. Now I'm going to introduce my daughter and Javaro's daughter to this community. When both Javaro and I got the call to introduce that our daughters were going to be moderators, man, now, I cry easy. But nothing made me cry like watching these two young ladies come before you all. These are our community children.
Our community.
We sent them away. They understood their assignment, and they are coming back now to take over control. With that, I introduce both Kirsten and Dr. Hilton and Dr. Ashley Ridley.
And Chuck, before we start, let me add, they have no problem taking over control.
The hosts and contributors of this forum would like to inform you that each candidate in the race was extended an invitation to participate in this community forum. With that being said, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to those who decided to show up and contribute to the discussion. Your participation is greatly appreciated and vital to the success of our community dialogue. Hello, I am your moderator, Dr. Ridley. We are going to start this forum with each candidate introducing themselves for 2 minutes. The county judge candidates' introductions will go first. But before we start their introductions, I would like to give a quick explanation of county courts. The Constitution established a county court in each of Florida's 67 counties. To be eligible for the office of county judge, a person must be an elector of the county and must have been a member of the Florida Bar for 5 years. The county courts handle minor criminal offenses, traffic violations, small claims, and civil cases. The goal of the county court is to provide a local forum for resolving disputes and minor legal matters efficiently and fairly. The county courts are sometimes referred to as the people's courts. Candidates for Palm Beach County Courts, can you please introduce yourselves You have 2 minutes to do so in your opening statements. We're going to begin with Ms. Casanova.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Lourdes Casanova, and I am running for County Court Judge. Family is at the heart of everything I do, and my desire to become a judge is deeply rooted in the values my family instilled in me. As the daughter of immigrants who fled persecution in a country that did not respect access to courts or due process, I learned at an early age the importance of justice and fairness and equality, and I am committed to ensuring that our legal system in Palm Beach County is fair and just. A judgeship is a career of service, and I have dedicated my career here in Palm Beach County as a lifelong resident to serving our community. As a prosecutor, I sought justice for Palm Beach County. I litigated in the county court daily. I managed a caseload of 300 to 400 cases a day and conducted jury trials. Now, as a private attorney, I serve a diverse client base in over 8 areas of law. And I would say it includes several areas, including criminal defense, immigration, juvenile, and civil small claims, many of the things that involve the People's Court. I'm also a small business owner, and I have run a bar association at the same time as running a business. I'm the only candidate who has done that, and I know I will be a fair and effective and efficient judge. I'm involved in several legal organizations, including the Palm Beach County Hispanic Bar Association, where I was president, Florida Association for Women Lawyers, and the Cherie Davis Cunningham Black Women Lawyers Association. I'm also involved in organizations outside the legal community, including Special Olympics and Latinos in Action. My well-rounded experience, community involvement, and dedication to justice uniquely position me to serve as an effective and fair judge in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce ourselves. I'm Jean Marie Middleton. I have 38 years of complex civil litigation experience. I currently serve as Assistant General Counsel for the Palm Beach County School Board, where I've served since 2013. In my 38 years, I have represented 3 municipalities as Assistant City Attorney, 2 Fortune 500 corporations as in-house counsel, the Legal Aid Society, as well as I have served in private practice. I am currently President-elect of the Palm Beach County Bar Association, a position that I was elected to without opposition, have served as president of the F. Malcolm Cunningham Bar. I was chosen and appointed to be chair of the entire Florida Bar Professionalism Committee, as well as the 15th Judicial Ethics Committee for Ethics Panel, excuse me. In my 38 years, I have handled just about every area of the law, including bankruptcy, landlord-tenant, complex contracts, employment and labor. Some areas have also included probate, and thank you. I have also been involved in the community in community service for the last 24 years in both the Miami-Dade and the Palm Beach County. I have served as a quasi-judicial youth court judge consistently for 24 years, and I'm currently the only candidate that is still serving as a youth court judge. I have served on several boards in the community. I've been a guardian ad litem. I've been an adoptive parent. I've been a foster parent. I've also served as a community food bank coordinator for the last 22 years. It is that breadth and depth and my commitment to the community that makes me the best candidate for this position. Thank you for your time.
So Lyford.
Nice job, nice job. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I am Douglas Lyford. I am running to become your next county court judge. I want to thank you, all of you, to inviting us to your beautiful house of worship, opening this up to us. I got to tell you, it's I think we're here just to introduce ourselves and tell you why one of us is the best person to serve you. It's exciting to be standing before you as a candidate for county court judge. In these divisive times, it's time for someone with the qualifications, experience, fairness, and maturity to step up and serve our community as a judge, as a decider of disputes and questions of laws. I've been a Palm Beach County courtroom attorney for the last 34 years. I began my career as a prosecutor in West Palm Beach, and I've done thousands of cases in the criminal trial divisions. After almost 5 years, I left to form my own practice, Lyford & Lyford. I've been in private practice in Palm Beach County alone for 29 years. I'm in court almost every day, usually with multiple cases in different courtrooms and even different courthouses. I've been the attorney of record on over 50,000 cases during my years in private practice alone. My 50,000 plus cases talk about the People's Court, represent everyday people. I've been committed to helping good people in unfortunate situations and working with others to resolve their court cases. I help them navigate the legal and emotional ups and downs of the process, and these challenges have uniquely prepared me for the often difficult decisions a judge must make daily. I've been married to the same beautiful woman for 25 years. My wife Debbie's here, and together we've raised 2 successful adult sons. Being a husband and father has prepared me well to be a judge. The same skills of patience and listening apply. Handling life's personal challenges help me to assist others. It will be an honor to serve as your next county court judge. I assure you that I'll run a fair and efficient courtroom. You deserve a judge with the necessary experience, qualifications, and temperament to be on the bench from day one. I'll be the same person on the bench that I am today and have been for 34 years. Honest, kind, fair, and law-abiding. When you vote this election day, please consider the depth of professional and life experiences when it matters to be considered being a judge. Is that for me? When you vote on election day, please vote Douglas Lyford, County Court Judge. Thank you.
Hello, I am your second moderator, Dr. Hilton. I'm excited to be here to ask questions to the candidates for sheriff. Before we introduce them, here is a quick explanation of what they do. The role of Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, also known as the PBSO, is the county's chief law enforcement agency with authority across the entire county. The sheriff's responsibilities include community policing, which has a high-profile presence to deter crimes of opportunity. Next is crime prevention. The PBSO has units for aviation, crime scenes, K-9 investigations, marine patrol, and traffic, as well as other duties which include the operation of jails, securing courthouses, and county buildings, protecting judges and juries, and coordinating with city police. Candidates for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, can you please introduce yourself? You have 2 minutes to do so for your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this awesome opportunity. I really appreciate it. My name is Laurel Diaz, and I am running for Sheriff of Palm Beach County. I was also, like Ms. Casanova there, I was also born in a communist country, Cuba. Came here to Palm Beach County in 1970. Grew up in the streets of West Palm Beach and Lake Worth. Graduated from Lake Worth High School. From there, I went into the U.S. Army, where I served for 3 full years. I then was hired with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, where I spent an additional 27 years. I don't want to take all my precious times on all the highlights, but I'll give you these little points. Bachelor's degree of Science in Criminal Justice, Master's degree in Homeland Security and Emergency Management. All my family lives here in Palm Beach County. I lived in Palm Beach County for 40 years straight before I retired in 2010. I then moved out and worked at Highlands County Sheriff's Office and worked at Bartow Police Department. I've had vast experience in the most toughest, most difficult divisions in law enforcement. And some of those examples are the Organized Crime Bureau Division. I was their commander, plus I also worked there as undercover narcotics. I also was the SWAT commander for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. In addition to that, I was also the commander of the training division, which is extremely important, which sets all of our policies for our training so that we stay proficient and stay out of trouble. My passion is community, always has been community. I've sat on the board of Take Stock in Children. I also teach junior achievement in Highlands County. I don't anymore. I also did work with Night Out on Crime in 2 different departments and so forth. So pretty much, I know the community. I know the struggles that we have here in this county. I know that we need a little bit more law and order, and I'm here to provide that for you. God bless you, and thank you.
Next, we're going to have Gauger to introduce. Gauger, Mr. Gauger.
That's good. Yes, my name is Michael Gauger. I am also running for Sheriff of Palm Beach County, as was explained. And I would tell you that I have 5 decades of experience there. I started at the bottom and worked myself up to the number 2 position in the agency. I am the only candidate who has corrections and law enforcement background. I attended Law Enforcement Academy, and then I attended the Corrections Academy on my own time because I wanted that experience. And then I had an opportunity to oversee it. I have a master's degree in social work, and I got that as an adult. I worked my way through college as I went up the ranks. I believe in community. Not only have I served those years in law enforcement, serving the communities, but I also served civic organizations. I just didn't start doing that a couple of years ago. I've done it my entire career. I serve in organizations like Families First, the Urban League, all those programs that make a difference in the community. And speaking of community, I'm the one who brought community policing to this county in the late 80s and early 90s and brought it to the sheriff's office. Not only did I bring it here, but we developed it under Sheriff Richard Willey. I believe in recovery for those who have substance abuse problems. I believe in getting those help that have mental health issues, and because that's so important, folks. We look at problems in our jails. 85% of the people in there are there for problems with drugs and mental health issues. Folks, we can make a difference. We have made a difference, and we'll continue to do that. I'm the candidate who has that experience. Thank you.
Next is Chief Freeman.
Good evening to you all. You know, before I talk about who I am, you know, we're in the house of the Lord, so it is fitting that we get homage to the Lord before we talk about ourselves. So I'm truly grateful to the God of Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham for this opportunity to be here this evening. I am Chief Alex Freeman. I started my law enforcement career 31 years ago, the 1st of this month. I started my career in the city of Riviera Beach, where I rose through the rank as Major of Police, retiring 3rd in command. Police departments throughout this country have two sides of the house. They have the operation side and they have the support side of the house. I was very, very fortunate to work in all areas of the police department prior to my retirement in 2015 from the city of Riviera Beach. In 2020, when I ran against Sheriff Bradshaw, he said at a debate that I wasn't qualified to be sheriff of this county because I had never served as a police chief. Well, soon after that, I went off to Tallahassee and became the chief of police there. But I have an experience that not one candidate in this race has, even including Sheriff Bradshaw. I was very fortunate to serve as a police chief, but also the public safety director overseeing the fire department. You know, with the and I've never worked in fires. All I know is that fires burn, but because you know I have the skill set to run the administration side of the house, I was qualified to be the public safety director in Tallahassee. And when I moved back here a year and a half ago, I didn't come back to Palm Beach County to go to work, but I was very fortunate to get a job in Jupiter Inlet Colony, the 3rd wealthiest community in Palm Beach County, being the first African-American officer to serve as their deputy chief of police. And now I'm ready to serve Palm Beach County because many of you all know I have a long-standing commitment of running for Palm Beach County Sheriff. I'm the longest-running candidate in the history of Palm Beach County for this office. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to do things a little bit differently. Since the county courts naturally intertwine with county sheriff's office, all topics are related to both parties. So listen up. Candidates running for either office will have 90 seconds max and a time warning at 1 minute. You will be signaled to stop at 90 seconds. Just a quick reminder, please use respectful discourse. There are 4 topics of discussion, and different questions will relate to the topics presented. Once again, please wrap up your thoughts when you are notified.
And I'll start. Our first topic is experience and values. The first topic will mainly focus on your experience and values. A judge should have integrity and independence, but comply with the law. They are required to personally observe high standards of conduct, but must act without fear or favor. This comes from the ethical standards for judges in the American Judicial Society. A county sheriff should possess strong leadership skills, demonstrating the ability to effectively manage and inspire their department. Integrity and ethical conduct are crucial for ensuring trust and respect in the community. The ability to remain calm under pressure and make sound decisions in critical situations. For our Palm Beach County judge candidates, your first question: What specific experiences and qualifications do you possess that uniquely prepare you to address the diverse community issues faced by residents of Palm Beach County? We will begin with Ms. Casanova.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, the county court is the people's court, and you interact with people from all walks of life. And so, having come from an immigrant family from Cuba and growing up with limited means, I learned to treat everybody with dignity and respect, and that's what I'm going to bring to the county court bench, in addition to my experience as a former prosecutor and as a business owner. And as a business owner, aside from my own family experience, I also represent people from all walks of life because of the diverse areas of law that I handle. And I would say that even though immigration law is not within the county court, it is a microcosm of county court in the sense that you do interact with people from all races, religions, nationality, and socioeconomic status. And a lot of times, in the same situation that you have to do as a judge, a lot of times you have to deliver bad news. And you say, there is no remedy available for you under the law, but in the way that you deliver it and having the compassion for that person and giving them the time and explaining your decision, that's something that's really important for the county court bench, and that's the experience I have, not only in my personal life, but in my professional life.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton.
Excuse me?
Need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. What specific experiences and qualifications do you possess that uniquely prepare you to address the diverse community issues faced by residents of Palm Beach County?
First and foremost, I am the daughter of a career Navy man. I have lived and traveled throughout the world and have interacted with people of all cultures, of all race, all ranks of life. I have served for 22 years as a coordinator for a food bank. Especially during the pandemic, we had to deal with people who wouldn't have thought that they would have food insecurities because of being laid off. So I was able to deal with them in a respectful and ethical way. Secondly, I have served as a youth court judge for the last 24 years, being able to explain to youth the laws and having the patience to deal with them week in and week out has prepared me to deal with pro se litigants. Additionally, having been appointed as chair of the Florida Bar Professionalism Committee, as well as the Ethics Committee, as well as having been elected without opposition to be president-elect of the Palm Beach County Bar, I believe I have demonstrated my ability to have integrity, to be ethical, and to be professional.
Mr. Lyford, what specific experience and qualifications do you possess that uniquely prepare you to address the diverse community issues faced by residents of Palm Beach County?
Thank you. Would it be okay to say, ask my wife? She probably knows better than me. No? Okay. Well, specifically, I'd say, honestly, it goes back to originally my 50,000 plus cases just on the defense side. And I would say that what I do is I help good people, right? And not only good people only come from one group of society. This is every group of our community. I've represented just, you name it, everywhere. Everyone comes through Palm Beach County, okay? We're a big tourist destination. Florida's a big tourist destination. And not only good people get in trouble, okay? There are bad people get in trouble, good people get in trouble, African Americans get in trouble, white people get in trouble, Latins get in trouble, everyone gets in trouble, and I get to meet all of them. I've represented people from Europe, South America, from Asia, and I have a really good time trying to guess where people come from just on their names. So my experience in dealing with all kinds of different people, with all kinds of different cases, and all over the courts really has helped me deal with the diverse different members of our community. I also was a judge at the youth court for over 20 years, and I got a Governor's Community Service Award for the amount of work I did. So that helps with the kids. And those are all kinds of kids from different communities, from all walks of life. I've represented young people, old people, middle-aged people, children. One of the saddest things I have is when I have adult children in my office with their adult parents, and their parents could be in their 80s or 90s, and the children are in their 60s and 70s. I've had enough experience. I've dealt with plenty of people. I have a lot of diversity in my experience. It'd be a pleasure to serve this community as a judge. Thank you.
Thank you. My second question for county judge candidates: how would you describe your judicial philosophy, and how will it guide your decision-making process? I'm going to begin with you again, Ms. Casanova.
Everyone should be subject to the same legal standard. And the only way we do that is observing the rule of law. It is the fundamental protector of our freedoms. Laws need to be applied consistently and impartially, and judges should not insert their own opinions or prejudice or bias into the legal field at all. The rule of law, meaning to me, following the law as written and as interpreted by higher courts, that is what protects our freedoms. Now, within the law, judges have a certain amount of discretion, especially in county court matters. And that's where compassion comes in, and that's where the human element comes in, where you take a look at someone's background and someone's circumstance and what led them to get there, to be in that courtroom. And I think it's important to exercise discretion, but only where the law permits, because as I said, the rule of law is what protects our freedoms. It's an objective standard, and it's transparent, and it holds judges accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton, how would you describe your judicial philosophy, and how will it guide your decision-making process?
That we as judges would be public servants. We're there to serve the public. So everyone who enters the courtroom should be treated with dignity, with respect, and they should be heard. They should be in front of someone who is prepared, who has been, who've read all the pleadings, and someone who is going to understand the cultural differences of people who come before you, and to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, whether they're represented by an attorney or whether they're pro se representing themselves. I think that also it's important to know that to have someone who understands the law, someone who can write a pleading, someone who has been awarded the proper jury instructions, knowing how to instruct the jury so that they get it right in those jury trials, and also making sure that the individuals who come before you understand what they're there for, and that you have read all the pleadings and that you are applying the law to those cases and the facts that are before you. But the most important thing I believe I would bring is the ability to interact with all of those who come before, because of my experience in legal aid society, because of my experience in dealing with people in all walks of society. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lightford, how would you describe your judicial philosophy, and how will it guide your decision-making process?
My judicial philosophy is that good people do bad things sometimes. They're not all perfect. So my philosophy would be to be kind, courteous, respectful, to listen to both sides or any side of any argument, to realize that any one person or any people can have a different point of view. And what I like to say is, you're all sitting in a different seat. The view from your seat of me is different from the view from this seat over here. And the judge has to respect all of those views. A judge has to be courteous and give everyone the opportunity to be heard. A judge has to be respectful to listen to all of the arguments. A judge has to be knowledgeable to understand the law that applies to the case, and that goes along with preparation and experience. You have to use all of those things to make the best decision possible under the facts that are given, the arguments that are made, and the law that exists. So you have to be kind, efficient, fair, and consistent. That's my philosophy. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hilton.
Thank you. Candidates for county sheriff. We're going to start off with this first question based off your experience and qualifications. What specific experiences and qualifications do you possess that uniquely prepare you to address the diverse community issues faced by residents of Palm Beach County? Mr. Diaz, would you like to go first?
Absolutely, thank you. The experience overall, I already touched on that in my opening statement, so I won't reiterate that. Now, how about experience as far as personal? Folks, listen, I know what racial profiling is because I've been a victim of it. I know what discrimination is because I've been a victim of it. I was on the sergeant's list of the sheriff's office, sitting number 1, and I watched number 57 and number 62, I believe, if I remember correctly, be promoted over me. So I know what that's like. I've also seen preferential treatment. And it's not just at the sheriff's office, it's in every phase of life. So I understand it. I grew up here as an immigrant, not speaking English, so I get that. But getting back to the actual law enforcement, because you're elected me as your sheriff, is what will I do about racial profiling? What will I do about discrimination? What will I do about opportunity for employment, equal opportunity for employment? I think those are the three key components. One is I will make sure that the process for being promoted is fair and equal to all, number one. I will personally oversee that. And number two, I will make sure that I set a policy very clear from day one that profiling will not be allowed. Quick example, I was pulled over not too long ago. Yes, I was speeding. Wasn't terribly speeding, but I was speeding. So there was probable cause for the stop, but it's what happened after the stop that there was no probable cause for. My wife was with me, my granddaughter was with me. They wanted to know where I was coming from, where I was going, and then they separated us and they asked her the same question. So that was a highway interdiction move. I know because I supervise a highway interdiction division. Folks, that's profiling, and I will not stand for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Gauger. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure. Nope, I'm fine. I worked the most diverse neighborhoods in this county, and I brought in community policing. I brought in community policing because it works with the residents. We build partnerships. There's two key components in community policing. It's partnerships and solving problems together. And folks, when the officers work and become friends and become knowledgeable of the neighborhoods, we make a difference with the children. We have two young ladies here who have doctorates. They had an opportunity. Some of the children in these neighborhoods never had an opportunity. So we worked extremely hard to give them those opportunities. After we cleaned up the drug dealing and the nonsense, we brought in after-school programs. We brought in athletic programs. In fact, I've received awards from the Department of Housing and Urban Development out of Washington, D.C. I serve on the Urban League Board. I received their Trailblazer Award, and I also received the Hispanic Puerto Rican Award for policemen. So I work hard, I believe in community, and I think that's where we make a difference. Everybody gets treated equally and fairly, even in the communities, but in our departments as well. I worked hard at hiring minorities, all minorities, women, Orientals, blacks, Hispanics, you name it. We worked hard to make an equal, across-the-board fairness.
Chief.
Yes, can you read the question again, please?
Yes. What specific experiences and qualifications do you possess that uniquely prepare you to address the diverse community issues faced by residents of Palm Beach County?
You know, not only my 31 years of service as a law enforcement professional and a practitioner, but I grew up in those communities, in a poor community. Many of you all may know of Stony Brooks and Riviera Beach. I grew up there. So I understand the disconnect that law enforcement have with our community. But as your next sheriff, we're going to work in collaboration with the academy so that we bring back human diversity training, classroom settings, and racial bias training. Because there is no way a law enforcement agency can effectively police a community if they don't understand the culture of those communities. And that is why we're having, and what we have had in the past, where you see officers shooting unarmed individuals. So as a former internal affairs investigator, that was my job, to investigate corrupt police officers. And unfortunately for some, well, fortunate for them, they lost their position with the city of Riviera Beach, and some of them with the jail. But there's no place for corruption in law enforcement. And as your sheriff, I am going to hold folks accountable for their actions, and I'm going to ask that you hold me accountable for my action, because I understand that you as the voter, you will ultimately serve as my employer. And many elected officials forget that when they get in office, that the voters are their employers.
The next question, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Diaz. This is based on your policing philosophy. How do you balance enforcing the law with doing what is morally right for the community?
Thank you for that question. Set an example with transparency and accountability. A little bit of that Mr. Freeman talked about briefly. There's not enough transparency at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. There hasn't been for since I've known it, from 1980 or 81 that I got involved with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. A quick example of that is your budget. I don't think anyone in the public has seen our budget. I don't think there's been an audit on that budget. I plan on having an external audit done, and I 100% plan on making that budget public so you, the people, can see how we're spending your dollars. And I will be open-minded to sit with community leaders if they have an issue with the way we're spending that money. So that's one part of it, right? Another part of it is we need to really do an overhaul of the entire agency. It's almost a 5,000 men and women department. There's a lot of money involved. We're talking almost $1 billion budget, and I'm being told pretty clearly there's positions that people are holding that don't really even exist, for that matter. So we really need to take a hard look at that. We need to evaluate it, and we need to curve that. Thank you.
Thank you. And the same question goes for Mr. Gauger.
I agree with my opponent there a little bit on that budget. Yes, we're almost at $1 billion. And when we see irrational spending on objects that aren't necessary, that money needs to go back into the communities where we can serve and work and build programs that make a difference, folks. That's the key. Making a difference in our communities so our children are safe, you're safe, our churches are safe, our schools are safe. Those are the things that are most important. I will bring in an inspector general who will oversee all of those operations and make sure that our agency is working correctly. Yes, there is a lack of transparency. I know. I was cut out from being part of that chain of command when it talked to use of controls. I watched how the current administration covered up investigations, like a car chase from Lake Worth all the way up to Jupiter that ended in a death. I finally got a copy of that, and everybody was cleared. A man died in that accident. Those are the things that cannot happen and will not happen under my command. It'll be reported to you. It'll be open to the media. It'll be fair and equitable across the board and build those communities back.
Thank you. Same question for you, Chief Freeman.
You know, I thank you, Mr. Gauger. You know, if any of you all have been following my campaign over these last 11 years, I've talked about doing a forensic audit of the budget to determine what programs serve as a benefit to the people of Palm Beach County versus those programs that don't, and giving a portion of those dollars back to the Board of County Commissioners so that they can identify programs to best serve Palm Beach County. Now, I'm sure that there are some areas in that budget that can be cut, and we will cut them, but we will not cut them to the point that we're not able to provide quality law enforcement services, but we will cut them so that we give a portion of those dollars back to the Board of County Commissioners so they can identify programs that they want to address here in Palm Beach County. For an example, the homeless issue that we have in Palm Beach County. Out of a $590 million to include grant funding, well over $1 billion, I'm sure that there's some money that this current sheriff can give back to the Board of County Commissioners to address the homeless problems here in Palm Beach County and our youth concerns here in Palm Beach County. Without fail, as your next sheriff, once again, I want you to hold me accountable to providing quality law enforcement service and being fiscally responsible for your taxpayer dollars without fail.
Thank you. Moving on to our second topic, race relations. One pressing concern is the relationship between the judicial system, law enforcement, and the Black community. Historically, there has been significant challenges and mistrust between these communities. Many Black residents feel that their concerns are often overlooked and that they do not receive fair treatment. Most have expressed their concern to see judges and law enforcement who understand their unique experiences. For example, Mark Sohn, a Boynton Beach police officer, has recently found himself at the center of controversy following allegations of misconduct. Many believe this incident highlights issues of an ingrained bias and the need for police reform. We're going to start off with the county, those running for county sheriff first. And this question is going to go to Mr. Diaz first. How do you plan to address and mitigate racial disparities within the sheriff's department?
It's going to be real simple. I don't need a whole minute and a half. You need to admit that it exists. We need to stop denying it. We need to stop hiding it. We need to stop putting it underneath our desk. It happens. As I said earlier, I was a victim of it, and I'm going to add one more thing. It's not just a black issue with law enforcement. It's a Latino issue also with law enforcement. It's a black and brown issue with law enforcement. So it happens, and as your sheriff, I fully understand that it does exist. And once you say that, and you know you have an officer who improperly does his or her duties, you call them out on it and you hold them accountable. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. There's something very wrong with hiding that mistake. That's the issue. Thank you.
Mr. Gauger, same question.
We don't hide issues. That's the key. Not hiding those issues. Transparency and working with the community, folks. Community policing, we didn't have those problems in those communities. Not at all, because our officers were trained, especially to work with all residents of every community. When we went into those neighborhoods, they first ran away from us. By the time we were finished, we were getting invited in for dinner. We attended the schools with some of the kids and their programs. The policemen should not sit in their cars. They should be out working with the community, being a part of the community. And you know what? You do that not just as a policeman, but you do it outside in a civic organization, like I did with the Urban League. They appreciate, you share values, you share information, you work back and forth together, and you solve problems together. And that's what's necessary. You cannot hide things. And I know, I was cut out of a chain of uses of controls because I kept sending them back to be reinvestigated. So the sheriff cut me out and they jumped over me and went directly to the sheriff. That's not gonna happen. We will investigate all things appropriately and nothing will be hidden.
Thank you. Chief Freeman?
Well, I can assure you under Freeman's administration, there will not be any cover-ups. We will not hide anything. And I'm going to be unapologetic about holding folks accountable for their actions. And just so that we can address the elephant in the room, because many folks don't like to talk about the union, But as your next sheriff, if a deputy violates the law, violates someone's rights, we're going to address that immediately. To the point, if we have to terminate or arrest him or her, I'll be the sheriff to put the cuffs on him myself. Because that is something we have not had. Bradshaw has been in law enforcement 54 years, 1 year less than I'm old. And he's been in the sheriff's office 20 years. He's been with the sheriff's office 20 years. It's time for a change. And that change, an agent of change, and that change is me, a person that is gonna go in there at 5'9", but not be afraid to do what is right. And even if it costs me as a one-term sheriff to turn that organization around so that this community can trust the sheriff's office, we're gonna do that unapologetically.
Thank you. This next question is for those candidates running for sheriff again. We're gonna start with you, Mr. Diaz. This addresses diversity. How does the sheriff's department ensure diversity and inclusion within its ranks?
Promote those who have earned it, who are qualified, and be fair all the way across the board. Favoritism does happen. Again, I spoke about that in the beginning, folks. I said that I was number one, and I got passed over numerous times. That sergeant's list is good for 2 years. They promoted me, look it up, public record, like my opponent likes to say, look it up. They promoted me at midnight the last night that list was good. So as your sheriff, I'll have zero tolerance for that. But more than that, I want to make sure when it comes to are we concentrating on promotion or hiring also?
We're focusing on diversity.
Okay.
How are we going to promote diversity within the ranks?
All right. So your staff should, reflect the entire community, the entire county. It's a county-wide agency. And I haven't been there in quite a while, but I can assure you that it's not reflecting our community. I'm 100% sure of that, even though I haven't been there in a while. So I'm here to tell you that will change. And not only does that include, black and browns and everything else, but females. I don't recall ever having a female undersheriff. Not since I've been alive. I don't recall. And I recall one female colonel, and that was 25, 30 years ago. So it hasn't happened. So yes, again, what did I say earlier? Admit the problem, correct the problem. Thank you.
Mr. Gauger, same question for you. How does the Sheriff's Department ensure diversity and inclusion within its ranks?
It's necessary that we treat all people equally. And I agree with my opponent, too. We have to hire correctly. Miami made exceptions, and they ended up with the Miami River cops because they overlooked some of their behaviors before they were hired, and they just went back to those bad behaviors. And they were robbing people, shooting people, it shouldn't happen. We look at training young people. We have programs. I was one of the first ones that started the junior deputy program, and now we have a cadet program. We look for young school-age children and get them into those programs and get them used to working with the police, get them excited about the police, and help them get through the academies. A lot of folks can't afford to go to the academy. It's very expensive. They were going on their own. But you know what? We can work through that, and we can sponsor them through the academies and help them all the way along. And we've done that with child after child, and we've got the diversity of all types: Oriental, Haitian, African American, Hispanic. That's what's necessary, folks. Even across the board, treat everybody correctly and let them move up the ranks, and don't let the union control promotions. And we've seen that at the sheriff's office.
Chief Freeman.
Well, diversity would start when you guys elect me as the sheriff of this county. When you look at the sheriff office in its 100 years of being in existence, when you look at the makeup of every specialized unit in the sheriff's office, the majority of those units are Caucasian folks. You may have 1 or 2 or 3 African Americans in specialized units, but for the most part, there's no diversity there. So once again, I am going to be unapologetic about the moves and the decisions that I make as your next sheriff. I am no different than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King. And, my mom said to me that I'm afraid for you to run because I think they may try to assassinate you. But if that's my time to go, then I'll go willingly, because it is a path that the Lord has me on. To be running for sheriff 3 times, to want to make a change here in Palm Beach County, I know that I'm the chosen one. But with your vote, Lord's will, I get there and we'll make those changes that we all can be proud of.
Thank you. This final question for the sheriffs in this area is civil rights protections, as we're focusing on. How will you uphold and protect civil rights for residents in Palm Beach County, Mr. Diaz?
I've been to the promised land. I've been to the mountaintop. Oh, Lord have mercy. That was good. That was priceless. How about a Latino sheriff, huh? Yeah, that was good. That was good. On a serious note now, honestly, I even forgot the questions because I was so good.
How will you uphold and protect civil rights for residents in Palm Beach County?
With every being in my body, with every ounce of energy, with everything who I am and what I am all about. In my studies, in my master's degree, my thesis was on the Fourth Amendment, which is basically protecting your rights based on search and seizure, which is the number one thing that people complain about being violated, right? Not being stopped, being searched, being harassed, whatever you want to call it. I'm very well aware of it. I will make sure that proper training and proper education is given to the men and women in the front line. And folks, make no mistake about it, us three up here, or Sheriff Bradshaw, that's not the backbone of the agency. It's the men and women in uniform, but even more important than that is those patrol sergeants. Those are the ones that will prevent incidents like that to occur. So those are the people we need to really focus on the most to make sure that they're soundly trained and they push it forward onto their men and women in uniform. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gauger.
Civil rights are extremely important. I've seen examples of that just recently. We had an incident in Belglade where a young man was handcuffed and shackled, and instead of he had a little incident in the back seat of a car, they turned a dog loose. How inappropriate. It went to internal affairs, it was investigated, went up the chain, it was sustained all the way up until it got to the top leader, and he unsustained it and said it was proper action. Those are things that should go to a state attorney. The state attorneys are the ones that we need to work together. I'm going to tell you folks, it's not just the sheriff, it's we the people. It's us. We have to work together, we build those partnerships, and we hold the people accountable. You can hold the sheriff accountable. You can hold that deputy in your neighborhood accountable. You can't be silent. You got to bring it forward and give us an opportunity to make them be responsible. I taught that training. I taught the cultural training. I taught community policing. I taught partnershiping. And folks, that's the important thing, to get those policemen to work with you in a partnership that makes a difference.
Thank you. Dr. Ridley.
I'm
Sip.
going.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. Chief Freeman.
Yeah, there's no need for me to try to talk both of my colleagues here. I agree with what both of them has said. So there's no need for me to prolong it.
Thank you.
Okay, county judges, candidates, it is your turn for your race relation questions. I am going to begin with Mr. Lyford. Here's your question. How do you plan to address and mitigate racial bias and sentencing disparities that affect residents in Palm Beach County? And how will you work to promote fairness? How do you plan to address and mitigate racial bias and sentencing disparities that affect residents of Palm Beach County? And I guess, will you work to promote fairness?
Sure, absolutely. So we start with that justice is blind, or Lady Justice is blind, but really your eyes have to be wide open. As a judge in a courtroom, you get to see what law enforcement brings before you, what the prosecutors are going to do with that case, what a defense lawyer is going to do with that case. And the judge is the final line of justice. So the judge gets to see and compare all the other cases that are before him or her for similar or like-minded people and make sure that the sentences are the same. I don't want to see a disadvantaged youth get treated harsher than a very well-to-do person in our community. And I think it's up to a judge to enforce that. A judge sees everything, a judge has to approve everything, and the judge has the right to use his or her discretion to say, hey, why are you treating this person differently than that person? It's the same charge, same record, or maybe it's not, but educate me. Educate me as a judge so I feel good about this. So as a judge, I will use my thought process, my rationale, the law, and most importantly, my discretion to make sure that everyone is treated fairly and equally, regardless of race. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton, how do you plan to address and mitigate racial bias in sentencing disparities that affect residents in Palm Beach County, and will you promote fairness?
I will absolutely promote fairness. I believe that everyone, again, who comes to the court needs to be treated with dignity, respect, and equity, not equally, but equitably, because it's different depending on what the facts, what the background, and what the law is on the case. And by doing that, you will ensure that there is consistency in the sentencing, and you'll make sure that those disparities don't apply or don't exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Casanova, how do you plan to address and mitigate racial bias and sentencing disparities that affect residents in Palm Beach County, and how will you work to promote fairness?
Well, as recently as a month ago, I've been told that I should be deported. I have been asked whether I speak English, and I have been mistaken for someone other than the attorney in the courtroom. The reason why I bring this up is because this level of understanding from personal experience is what I'm going to bring to the bench to ensure fairness. And so 3 things I think need to happen is, as I mentioned earlier, observe the rule of law, apply the laws consistently and impartially. We need to have diversity on the bench to build the trust and understanding between judge and litigant. I also believe in something that we have been doing in the court system, which is training on bias. So this is where law enforcement, courtroom personnel, and judges and attorneys are trained in implicit biases, because as much as we can talk about applying the law consistently and impartially, you may not even realize it, that you're doing it, right? So I think this training would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. My next question. In the judicial system, you are a person of authority. What is your plan to promote diversity and inclusion within your staff? The Lifer. Yes. In the judicial system, you are a person of authority. What is your plan to promote diversity and inclusion within your staff as a judge?
Well, diversity and inclusion within my staff has to be that I would want to interview, discuss, and give everyone an opportunity to work on my staff, whether that's a judicial assistant, a courtroom deputy, a clerk. I would give everyone the same equal opportunity to work for me as anyone else. I have a diverse staff as it is now. I've always had a diverse staff, just as I have a diverse clientele. So I would look for the best qualified candidate, whoever they may be, wherever they come from, with the most experience, that could serve the interests of justice, serve the court, serve the community. And I would be fair to anyone of any gender, any race, any creed. Anyone who wants the job, that can do the job, is more than welcome to work for me. And that's how I would do diversity, equity, and inclusion in my courtroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Ms. Middleton. In the judicial system, you are a person of authority. What is your plan to promote diversity and inclusion within the staff?
Years of practice, even in my position now as assistant general counsel for the school board, I've always been in a position of hiring. I've always been on the interview panels, and I've always included those who are sometimes people who don't have an opportunity. I believe as a judge and a person in authority, I'd be in a position to hire people who would not have opportunities to be in those positions, that are qualified but don't get in the door. And I would make sure that they have an opportunity to apply, because you can't be interviewed if you don't get the opportunity to apply. And I'd ensure that that happens.
Absolutely. In the judicial system, you are a person of authority. What is your plan to promote diversity and inclusion within the staff?
Got it. So I have been involved in promoting diversity and inclusion through the different voluntary bar associations. Those different voluntary bar associations, such as the Black Women Lawyers Association, Hispanic Bar, the central goal is to bring Black and brown people to positions of leadership. So a lot of it has to do with mentorship, which is what I would bring to the bench as well. Mentoring young Latinos, or really anyone of any race or creed from the diverse population who wishes to, either be judge or be part of the courtroom staff. So mentorship is really important. I think we should continue as judges to engage in the community to see if we can get people motivated to apply for these positions. I think we need to encourage that. And within the Hispanic bar, I know that we have programs, Zoom-related programs or in person that promote diversity. So we'll say, we have a cafecito session, for example, that says how do diverse candidates go through the judicial appointment process or the election process? How do we go about it? How do we get people motivated to do it? So we do have those programs in place, and I plan to continue being a part of that. And the other thing is people need to vote. People need to vote. So we want diverse candidates, right, on the bench. And I know with the Hispanic population, I was involved with the Hispanic vote of Palm Beach County for the specific purpose of getting Hispanics motivated to vote for the various candidates. People need to show up to the polls, and once those people are in positions of leadership, they can serve as an example for others.
Thank you. And this is my final question for race relations. What steps will you take to ensure that individuals have fair and equal access to justice in your court system? And do you support alternative sentencing programs? Mr. Lyford.
Well, fair and equal access to the courts, that comes with listening, being understanding, being patient of all people and all matters. But really where it starts before it gets in the courtroom. It starts on the street. It starts in the clerk's office when the clerk accepts paperwork from people. And so it just to be fair and equal, just have to listen and to treat people the same. As far as your second part of the question was alternative sentencing. So that's a touchy subject for a judge to talk about what a policy might be as far as sentencing goes. But there are laws and rules that are available to a judge. If the facts are appropriate, a judge can decide to depart down from a sentencing guideline. A judge can mitigate a sentence. A judge can do a lot of different things. And as a judge, you need to bring your life experience to that. You need to bring your professional experience, your family experience, your parenthood experience, the lessons that your parents and your grandparents taught you. So you need to bring all of that to you. And if there are tools available and the facts allow those tools to be used, they will be used in my courtroom because I do believe in that when it's appropriate and the facts are appropriate as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton, what steps will you take to ensure that individuals have fair and equal access to justice in your courtroom? And do you support alternative sentencing programs?
As you said in the last question, judges do have power. With that power comes responsibility. As a judge, we should go out in the community and use that responsibility to educate people. Being a judge opens a lot of doors to the community to go out and speak and to educate the community on what some of the issues are. I have been a Supreme Court Circuit Civil Mediator since 2009. I believe in alternative dispute resolution and sentencing. I have been a youth court judge for the last 24 years. That is an alternative process for youth. Juveniles who are first-time misdemeanor offenses get an opportunity to erase that and not have a criminal record if they complete the program. So I've already been participating in that and will continue to do so when elected to be the next county court judge. Thank you.
Ms. Casanova, what steps will you take to ensure that individuals have fair and equal access to justice in your courtroom? And do you support alternative sentencing programs?
Well, first and foremost, everyone should have equal opportunity to address their case in court. But I'm going to bring up something from a practical perspective. How about virtual hearings? How about Zoom? A lot of people can't necessarily make it to the courthouse, right? And that prevents them from getting their access. So I think if there's one positive thing that came from COVID is that we started as a whole in our judicial system allowing for more remote hearings. And I think that has increased access to the courts. So I'm all for Zoom hearings where appropriate and where it doesn't prevent someone from being properly cross-examined, for example, or something that would affect the evidence in the case. In terms of alternative sentencing and diversion programs, were appropriate and were permitted under the law. A judge can and maybe should, depending on the circumstance, depending on the case. I can't say what I would do in any particular case. That is not allowed per the canons, but depending on the situation, diversion could be a great thing for that particular litigant that comes before me.
Thank you. And so, because of time, we are going to end it at this section and then open it up to community. Our next topic is going to be economic and social awareness. Understanding the roles of court judge and county sheriff is crucial to fostering both economic and social awareness within a community. Together, these two officials shape the economic stability and social fabric of their jurisdictions, making their roles and responsibilities a pivotal area of study for those interested in the intersection of authority, economics, and societal welfare. For county judges, I'm going to have to decide which one of these questions I'm going to ask you. Okay, youth justice. What are your plans to address the school to prison pipeline, and how will you work to ensure that juvenile offenders are given opportunities for rehabilitation rather than incarceration? I'm going to begin with Ms. Middleton.
My 24 years in working with youth court has demonstrated my commitment to trying to eliminate that classroom to courtroom pipeline. One of the things that I did when I was transferred from the from the Miami-Dade County Youth Court to the Palm Beach County Youth Court, I saw that there was a pattern that those kids that were given the opportunity to go to youth court were disproportionately Black and brown students. And I made sure, as a school district employee working with school police, that that didn't happen. And I've continued to make sure that all the cases that come are fair, and that the students who are eligible to be a part of that diversionary process should have that access. And what was the second part of the question?
Okay. What are your plans for addressing the school to prison pipeline, and how will you work to ensure that juvenile offenders are given opportunities for rehabilitation rather than incarceration?
As a judge on the bench, I would continue working with youth court. I will continue serving in that capacity, working with the school police, because they're the ones who administer the program throughout the county. So I would continue working with that, and that's something I've been committed to for 24 years, and it is a passion of mine, and I will continue ensuring that that program is ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Casanova. What are your plans to address the school to prison pipeline, and how will you work to ensure that juvenile offenders are given opportunities for rehabilitation rather than incarceration?
Well, that is a great question, and I am limited in how I can respond because of the judicial canons. So my response won't discuss policy, but what it will discuss is my experience in the juvenile division. As a prosecutor, I was in the juvenile division for 6 months downtown, and in Belle Glade, I was in the juvenile division for 9 months. So even though the county court does not encompass the juvenile division, there are juveniles that come through the county court for criminal traffic offenses. So being able, having the experience of interacting with juvenile litigants, I think will help me in terms of addressing that person in court. But in terms of what I can answer today, I would say community engagement. I'm very involved in a program called Latinos in Action, which is a mentorship program for students. It used to be middle and high school, but now it also includes elementary. And the purpose of the program is to inspire these students to reach positions of leadership, whatever it is, whatever profession they want to be in. And I think that's really important in avoiding the situation, the classroom to courtroom situation. I think the mentorship outside of the courtroom.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Lyford, what are your plans for addressing the school to prison pipeline, and how will you work to ensure that juvenile offenders are given opportunities for rehabilitation rather than incarceration?
Thank you. I would say that youth justice has been a passion of mine since the beginning of my career. I also spent time as a juvenile prosecutor, but really where I spent a lot of my time is as a youth court judge, and I started doing that in 1997, and I only stopped because of COVID. So almost have Miss Middleton at 24 years. I think I got 23, and I got the Governor's Award for Community Service for doing that. I think that youth justice starts at home. By the time they come into court, it's not that it's too late, but things have happened before that, and they should have happened at home to stop them. And a lot of times there just are no resources at home, whether it's not enough parents at home, not enough resources at home, not enough programs. But law enforcement can help with that. Government can help with that. Provide programs, after school programs, provide community programs, police athletic leagues, social programs, community basketball leagues. There are things that can be done to keep kids out of trouble, and I think that's important. As a judge, what I would do is, as what I've done as a lawyer, is educate kids, okay? Educate them. Sheriff previously had a program called the Jail Tour, where we would take kids from youth court and bring them into a tour of the jail and say, you want to be here? You think it's cool to be with these people and do what they're doing or not? That's an eye-opener to most people. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be there at all. As a lawyer, I've had the opportunity to go to prison tours. I've actually been on death row. I've sat in the death chamber. I've been to youthful offender prisons, sex offender prisons, you name it. It's important to educate these kids that if they don't smarten up, don't wisen up, this is where they're going to wind up. And it's also important to reinforce the values at home so they don't wind up in the court system in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hilton.
Okay, candidates for county sheriff. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, but I'm only going to ask one question in this topic due to time constraints. I'm going to go to Mr. Gauger first. The question is, Mr. Gauger, what strategies and initiatives would you implement as first responders with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in addressing the intertwine with opioid and mental health crisis? So we're interested in understanding the specific actions and approaches you would take to tackle these issues in our community.
Well, first of all, about 6 years ago, before I retired in February of 21, I developed the Narcan program. We had it all set up. I had Narcan donated to the sheriff's office, and I had fire rescue doing the training for all deputies. We were in our conference room, and the current sheriff walked in and yelled, "We are not carrying Narcan. We are not carrying Narcan." Narcan saves lives, folks. I believe in recovery. If you go to my website, you will see individuals who I helped get in programs. I've served on the Fern House, a men's recovery program, for 35 years. I've served on the board of CARP. I've served on mental health boards. I was the chairman of the board of JFK Hospital when we introduced the recovery program up on 45th Street at JFK North that took people that were overdosed and lived and had an opportunity to get them into the treatment that they found necessary. That's the key, folks, getting the help that they need for mental health and substance abuse. I have that master's in social work. I know how to do it. I did it before, and I'll do it when I go back in.
Chief Freeman, same question.
Can you read the question, please?
Sure. The question was, what strategies and initiatives would you implement as first responders with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in addressing opioid and the mental health crisis?
You know, as the next sheriff of this county, we're going to bring back the Sheriff Office Eagle Academy, a program that Sheriff Bradshaw discontinued in 2010 at a cost of $2.1 million to operate, and his budget was $418 million at the time. His budget now is $590 million, and there's no talks about bringing this worthy program back. This program had an 85% success rate in changing lives. And folks, those young men and women who went through that program, as long as they completed that program, it gave them a second chance at life to start over again. So I would bring that program back. You also, like the sheriff, also talk about the mental health unit that he has at the sheriff's office and what a wonderful job he's doing. But I never hear him talk about the rehabilitation that is going on there. All that is going on there now is they're feeding them, they're observing them, and they're giving them their meds. So we have to identify those professionals that will come into the sheriff's office and provide programs to rehabilitate those men and women that are suffering from mental illness.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz.
Drug farm. That's what's missing. That's what was taken away, along with the Eagle Academy. But for substance abuse, we need the drug farm back. Now, if we can't afford it because there's been issues with the budget, then let's partner up with our community, with our private sector, and let's come together and make it happen. It's not that difficult. That takes care of that part. The other part is enforcement. If you don't address the enforcement part of it, and you only concentrate and give issues and concerns to rehabilitation or treatment, then you're never going to win. We learned that in the 1980s and 90s with crack cocaine. Fentanyl is here, and it's here to stay for a long, long time. We need to get the Organized Crime Bureau back to where it was. It's been depleted by over 50%. We need to bring those men and women back. We need to bring a man unit back, multi-agency narcotics unit, that I was also the commander of, and we need to enforce those laws, and we need to work with our partners, federal level, state level, and local municipalities to enforce those drug laws. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to send this back to Dr. Ridley to open up the floor.
All right, in the spirit of community engagement and accountability, we are going to open up the floor to the community to ask questions. Due to time constraints, guests have one question per candidate, 1 minute to ask the question, and the candidates have 90 seconds to respond. Who's coming first?
Thank you. I'm listening very carefully, and the question is dealing with the Sheriff's Department. I hope I explained myself properly, but I've been listening to all of you state what you will do if you're a sheriff. What I want to know, and he's not here, which is a shame, what the incumbent sheriff has emphatically, indubitably, and definitely done wrong. It's very easy to state an opinion, but I want to know what officially is going wrong, why you're running for sheriff. And that's not what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing reasons he should no longer be sheriff.
Is that a question or a statement?
I can go. Yeah. Well, sir, it's very, very, very simple for me. You know, the reason why I'm running for sheriff because Bradshaw is corrupt. He's corrupt.
Reason I'm running for sheriff is because I see an increase in crime. I see road rage out of control. I don't think that's been addressed. I don't think our traffic laws are being enforced the way they need to be done. I believe gang violence is coming back because of fentanyl, which I just finished speaking about. And I don't believe we have enough men and women in uniform responding to your 911 calls in an efficient manner of time. I believe that we've diversified the agency so large with specialty units and task force that it has depleted our men and women who are actually our first responders out on patrol to go there. Because at the end of the day, folks, it doesn't matter what any of us here say. 2 o'clock in the morning, you dial 911. It's not myself, it's not Freeman, it's not Gogger, it's not Bradshaw. It's going to be the men and women closest to your home to respond to a 911 call. And that's what we need to get back to. Good old-fashioned police work. Thank you.
I can answer that very easily. I walked away. I walked away from working with Sheriff Bradshaw. You know, I couldn't do it anymore. I walked into his office and said, you know, it's not the same. You're not listening. You're not doing the things. You've surrounded yourself with people who don't have the community at heart. So I left. I wasn't going to run. And then I got phone calls from the communities that I serve. He did away basically with community policing. He did away with the drug farm. He did away with all kinds of programs that were important and made a difference. When he did away with the drug farm, I started another way program in our West Jail. It's still working today. He wouldn't give any money. He said you could do it if it doesn't cost money. Well, I went out and got 2 for-profit people from programs to give us the counselors, and they did it free of charge for 2 years. And you know what? It made a difference. And that's what I went back. I want to see those programs back. I want to see a difference. And I want to see our people held accountable, because they're not being held accountable. I'm not going to cover anything up, folks. I'm going to represent you and those communities, and we're going to do the right thing all the time because it's the right thing to do, folks. That's important.
Mr. Garga, keep your mic in your hand. I think Mr. Diaz and Mr. Freeman has pretty much answered this question. My name is Andrea Bruton, and I'm on the executive board of the South Palm Beach County chapter of the NAACP. This year, PBSO is 115 years old, and in the history of law enforcement, there's never been a black female in the rank of captain or higher. We just recently got one in 2 as a lieutenant, nor a black male in the rank of major, and it's been 20 years since that happened. And it's not because of the lack of qualification. In our neighboring counties, Miami-Dade and Broward County, it's natural. But Palm Beach County is 20 years behind. So, to change this practice, Mr. Garger, because you've been at the helm for quite a while, what are you going to do to ensure that qualified blacks, females, and males are promoted?
Let me give you an example. There was a young lady who came to work for us. She passed the sergeant's exam, and he was getting ready to take the lieutenant's exam. So when we loan out officers to serve on promotional boards at other departments, I selected her because we wanted her to move up the ranks. We have majors. We have several majors, both in corrections and in law enforcement, that are of color.
Not in law enforcement,
Yes.
Mr. Garger.
Well, we do.
In corrections, yes, but not in law enforcement. As a matter of fact, the young lady you're speaking of, Linda Hamilton, was should have been our first black female lieutenant, and she was left on the list, the lieutenant's list. You promoted two people that were ahead of her. As a matter of fact, Linda, you used her promotional package as an example. Or go by the highest score you could. Okay.
Okay. The list expired. Linda was #1 to be promoted, and she wanted to be promoted, but there wasn't an opening at the time. The sheriff made those decisions, not me. The sheriff made those decisions, not me. If there had been an open position, Linda would have been next. So it's important that we move people up and get them promoted and they have qualifications. The sheriff, ironically, just now, I think yesterday, promoted more minorities. And that happens every election year. It's not going to happen just on election year with me. Those people will be promoted. I have always, okay.
Hi, I am Linda Hamilton, a retired sergeant from the sheriff's office. And just to address the fact is there was an opening when I was scheduled to get promoted, and I filed a class action lawsuit along with another officer. And so we won the case because there was an opening, and the agency failed to promote me, as well as several other minorities. And so I, along with Deputy Bruton, want to know there got to be a plan. Right now, your executive staff are all white males with the exception of one Latina who is Major Araujo. And so this needs to be addressed. Seriously, this is 2024. And unless you have a plan to address DEI, then I don't know, let the community make that decision.
I read on the internet today a quote that says, "Stay away from people who act like a victim in a problem they created." One of your opponents brought that to your attention in a Zoom forum recently that the problems in the sheriff's office while you were there, Mike, for all those years. What in the world did you do? We know what you didn't do. You allowed it to go on. And when that was pointed out to you by an opponent, you used two of the vilest words, cuss words, at him that I've ever heard. They're the worst curse words that we have in our language against him because he pointed that out. Is this a good night to apologize to that candidate?
Yeah, tell him about that.
Hold on, Mr. Gauger. Mr. Gauger, hold on a second. Sir, if you have a question for the candidates, ask questions to the candidates, but we won't have a platform that we let you attack a specific person. So I don't think that's a right question. So if you have questions to ask all the candidates, please do that.
My question or comment or ask of you three gentlemen is, did I not read somewhere where Mr. Bradshaw gave 8 $2 million bonuses and 8 luxury SUV vehicles to some of his top people? Didn't we waste all of our tax dollars on that? Is that not true? That is true. Is that a lie? You didn't hear that? He gave $8 million bonuses and he gave luxury SUVs to some of his staff. How many times does somebody get a $2 million bonus? Please. I got a little $5,000 bonus when I was working, and I thought that was all of that in a bag of chips. $2 million?
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Yes, that's true.
Question. You addressed the issue of profiling. Now, my son is 46 years old, and when he was 16 years old, he was being profiled, and that's still going on. How are you going to address the weeding out of some of these KKK police officers that you keep hiring every time something happens? You look in their background and you see all these issues that they had that they brought in. And just like the lady that got shot in the face, the man been in 6 police departments in 5 years. How could something like that happen? You're not doing your due diligence when you're hiring people. What you going to do about these profiling and investigating these officers that you're hiring?
You know, we're going to have to hold folks accountable for their action. That is why it's so important that we have human diversity and equity bias training in the sheriff's office. Once you go through those training, it's a not a one-on-one, but it's on-hands training, and it provides an opportunity for law enforcement practitioners, professionals, to have a greater understanding of the communities that they're policing and serving, so that when they go out and police those communities, that we don't have issues and concerns and problems like that. When we have recalcitrant police officers, we have to take action against them. But many police chiefs and many sheriffs don't do that because they're afraid of the PBA. I'm not afraid of the PBA, just letters to me. You know, if they are recalcitrant, they're corrupt police officers, we will fire them, we will arrest them.
There's actually, ma'am, what's your name? Ms. Brenda? There's actually something already in
hiring.
There's actually something in place to identify those officers that do racial profiling, and I'll give you a quick example. The problem is, do we use the technology to identify them? That's really the question. But first, I'll tell you about the program, or the software. I just finished an investigation just before I left Bartow, based on racial profiling. We had a mother that came in and said, this officer keeps coming into our trailer park. It was a dominant Hispanic, Mexican to be exact, trailer park. And they're basically sandbagging them coming out of the trailer park because routinely in their mind, the officers believe that they don't have insurance or they don't have a legitimate driver's license and so forth. So it was easy picking. Well, that was just information that was brought to me, so I did the investigation. So I used the software that we have in place, and I know the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office has it and has had it for many, many years, that it can identify everyone you've pulled over, location, date, and time, race. But the problem is we're not following up. Well, when I did my investigation, guess what? Out of 94 citations and out of I don't recall the arrests, so, oh no, you gotta let me finish, brother. Out of those there, it turned out that she was correct. This particular officer was sandbagging these individuals through racial profiling. And so I suspended him for 30 days, or at least I requested him to be suspended for 30 days. Thank you.
When we had community policing, there wasn't a problem with racial profiling because those officers knew and worked with the residents of that community. They became friends. They started the athletic programs. They worked with the families. It changed. However, there are incidents of that nature. And we can stop that. We have body cameras now. And if the supervisors hold people accountable, they review those cameras to see if those officers are acting inappropriately. And then we need to bring them in, and they either change their behaviors or we punish them. We hold them accountable. We're not going to play with that. I don't have those complaints. I've never had those complaints, and we work the toughest neighborhoods. In addition, we built the parks. We did things that give those kids a chance to have a positive thing to do instead of finding negative things to do. That's what makes a difference. We will not tolerate racial profiling.
Wesley Schuler. The situation in Bear Glade, that was ridiculous by itself. What I want to know, and this for the sheriff, I hear all the stuff that you're saying. That sounds ditty and good and all that. But how are you going to hold the officers accountable to the T? Because they doing what they want to do, and the citizens don't do what they need to do, but then y'all get mad when we don't do what we need to do. What are y'all going to do about the officers that's doing corrupted stuff, all the way up from the sheriff all the way down?
1 minute to respond.
You know what? I agree with you, but we can't do it ourselves. If we make those cases and we investigate those and we take it to the state attorney, we need a state attorney that's going to hold people accountable too for their inappropriate actions. And we haven't seen that, folks. We haven't seen that, and I think we should. So again, what did I say earlier? It's not just us. It's not just your sheriff. It's we the people. It's all of us that have to work together to hold officers accountable, to hold the system accountable. That's where we make a difference. And if you work together, we build those partnerships, we will make a difference and we will hold people accountable and see the right things that are done.
You know, as sheriff, I am going to serve as a liaison between the sheriff office and the community. And it starts with me. It starts with me. It don't start with no one else. If an employee is working for the sheriff office under my leadership, and he or she is violating policy, violating folks' rights, or violating the law, you can rest assured that as your candidate now, and once I become your sheriff, I'm going to take action unapologetically about holding people accountable. I have people in this audience that work for the sheriff's office who I'm great friends with, and we've had great conversation. I say, once I'm the sheriff, although we're friends, I'm going to hold you accountable for doing the right thing. It doesn't matter to me who you are. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and if we have to get rid of you, we're going to get rid of you, without a doubt.
Very seldom, sir, very seldom, and I'm familiar with some of the cases in Belgrade, very seldom is it an officer that acts alone. It's usually several officers. And usually when you dig into it, the supervisor, which I spoke about, which is the backbone of the agency, the patrol sergeant, he or she is aware of it or should be aware of it. So we won't only hold accountable the officer, but everyone that's involved in it. It's no different than two officers watching three other officers beating the heck out of somebody and not intervene. They're just as guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Questions for the judge candidates. You've all been in county court as attorneys, both defense and prosecutors. Which judge is your style and demeanor most like a current or past judge?
This is so easy for me. It's Judge Paul D'Amico, who was actually here before you guys a couple of years ago for re-election. I was in his division as a prosecutor, and later as a defense attorney, I got to litigate in his division and do trials. And Judge D'Amico has this cool demeanor, this calm temperament, and this compassion for everybody who comes before him. And in addition to that, he is great on the law. He treats everyone with respect, and he has courtroom control. He doesn't let anyone treat anyone with disrespect in the courtroom. And that's what I mean by courtroom control. But that balance between his demeanor, he never loses his cool, and courtroom control and knowledge of the law, he checks off all the boxes. And I hope to be half as good as Paul D'Amico is.
I would have to say without a doubt it would be actually two judges, but one would be Judge Sheree Davis Cunningham. She served as one of my mentors. She was, again, a county court judge during her whole career on the bench. Very fair, very impartial, very calm, and all the attributes that a judge would have. But most importantly, the young judges that came before her, because most of with the law firms and with the state attorney, public defender, you go through county court first. So she had a very, very effective way of mentoring them. After a case was over, she'd pull them aside and talk to them about what they did right, what they could do better. And I would like to emulate that as well, to be a mentor, but also, again, to have the demeanor, the patience, and the calmness, and the ability to treat everyone with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to drop any names, but there are two judges that come to mind. One judge, when that person, I won't even say male or female, when that judge comes into the courtroom and he has litigants, or I just said he, when there are litigants on both sides, he would say, have you all talked about this case? Have you all talked about what you want to do? Have you all thought about how you can resolve it? Because if I have to decide, someone's going to leave here unhappy. And I'd rather you guys decide what's going to happen. And if it's good, I'll approve it. But I want you guys to talk. So number one, I would encourage litigants to talk to each other so that the court can govern over a resolution rather than a dispute. The second one is another judge, and he had a very funny expression. He used it a lot. He said, I may have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night, okay? And the context of that is when the lawyer may be trying to put something in front of him that he didn't like or just didn't think it made sense. And my point is that you have to use your common sense. So I would encourage people to talk things out, like one judge, talk it out, see if you can figure it out. And then I would also use my common sense to realize that, no, I wasn't born last night. Thank you very much.
Okay, and so now we're going to begin with closing statements. Is it okay to start from this end? Or how do you guys?
1 minute.
The candidates and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Lightford. 1 minute for your closing statement.
I had a feeling I shouldn't sit down, so I didn't do it. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight. I have the most courtroom and the most client experience in this group. I just do. I'm a 34-year Palm Beach County courtroom attorney with 5 years as a local prosecutor and 29 years in my own private practice, Lightford and Lightford. I'm in court on almost a daily basis, and I've had court cases in almost all the divisions. I have a reputation for honesty, fairness, hard work, and excellent results. You can look me up. I volunteered for over 20 years as a youth court judge and was recognized with the Florida Governor's Community Service Award. I've been the attorney of record in over 50,000 cases. That's almost 50,000 people here in Palm Beach County. I've helped far more individuals than either of my opponents, and I've been in the Palm Beach County courts for decades longer as well. Here in Palm Beach County, decades longer. This race is about who, amongst us three, is the best suited and best experienced to deal with good people in their worst personal times and do a fair and efficient job as a county court judge. As a former public servant, I would love to come back and serve you as a county court judge. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Middleton, you have 1 minute.
Legal experience. I have the most diverse and the breadth and depth of experience. I have not only practiced in the courts on a regular basis, but I have handled my own appeals. I have practiced in the state courts. I've done arbitration. I've done mediations. I've handled federal cases. I've handled cases at every level of courts, including the Florida Supreme Court. I have the ability to have a proven record of having made the law in this jurisdiction in both the 3rd and 4th District Courts of Appeal. My demeanor, my temperament, and the ability to apply the facts to the law over a variety of complex civil cases that are the majority of cases before the county court is what I bring to this. And I think that makes me uniquely qualified. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Casanova, 1 minute.
Thank you again for this opportunity. Lourdes Casanova, candidate for County Court Judge. I ask for your vote today because of my well-rounded experience, and that includes government and private practice, having litigated in the criminal, civil, and traffic divisions, being the only candidate who has run a business and a bar association at the same time, and my active community involvement within the legal field, but also in organizations such as Special Olympics and Latinos in Action. The Judicial Nominating Commission, the body responsible for recommending who should be judge, has nominated me for judge several times, and I'm proud of that. I'm also proud to announce the endorsements of our local police, firefighters, National Organization for Women, Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, and the Sun Sentinel. I ask for your vote on August 20th. Again, Lourdes Casanova, candidate for County Court Judge. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Geiger, 1 minute.
Mr. Geiger, 1 minute.
1 minute.
Closing?
Yeah, 1 minute for your closing statement.
Well, if you want somebody to lead that department who has served all communities, you will select me. If you want a leader who has built the programs that have made a difference, like Another Way, like Eagle Academy. I worked with Sheriff Newman when he developed Eagle Academy. I worked with Sheriff Willie when he developed the drug farm. I brought in community policing to neighborhoods across this county, from Boca to Jupiter to Belglade and all over the central area. We made a difference. I made partnerships with all the government agencies. We built parks. We put sidewalks in. We put street lights in. I didn't pay for those. The county did, but we got the county to do it. It made a difference for all communities. I will do that again. I know how to build partnerships and make a difference in your community and keep you safe.
Thank you. Alex, you have 1 minute.
You know, my 31 years of service in this law enforcement industry makes me qualified to serve as your next sheriff. I want you all to know that serving in this capacity as the sheriff of this county is going to be a benefit to all people of Palm Beach County. I am told that the sheriff is the most powerful person in Palm Beach County. I don't want to be the most powerful person in Palm Beach County. I want to work with other police chiefs and county commissioners in communities such as this throughout Palm Beach County so that we are the most powerful force in Palm Beach County in providing quality services that we all could be proud of. Because the longer you stay in office, it does corrupt you. And we see that under this administration. We see that under this administration. And once again, I want you to hold me accountable to providing quality law enforcement services. Many of you all have my phone number, and once I'm the sheriff, feel free to call me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz, 1 minute for your closing statement.
This is not your typical closing statement, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Seriously. Cursing me out, that doesn't hurt me. I have thick skin, but I appreciate your concerns. Safety, that's what my opponent talked about. Safety is his concern. My wife did not come today because she couldn't control herself if she was here. My personal address, I've put hardened criminals in prison for the last 37 years. And my personal address, which is protected by law, was put on social media by this man today.
Not me now.
That man, my opponent. And that's all I'm going to say. If it's a lie, then go on his website and you'll see it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
This is a forum, not a debate. Let's be respectful. This is going to conclude our forum for this evening. I would like to give a round of applause to the candidates. Very informative. The goal is to create platforms to educate you so you can make better decisions once you go to the polls. I also like to give a round of applause to our moderators, Dr. Ridley and Dr. Hilton. Thank you. Pastor, will you come up? Pastor Whiteley, Pastor Dames, Mr. Ridley. These are some of the sponsors for this event, for this evening. We'll also give them a round of applause as well. Also give yourselves a round of applause for coming out. We truly appreciate it. We have some words from Pastor Whiteley. We have a closing remarks and a closing prayer from Pastor Barber.
Good afternoon, or good night, rather. My name is Pastor Ray Whiteley, and I have the awesome privilege of organizing in Palm Beach County's Faith in Florida chapter. The mission of the organization is to do things like this to build power in Black and brown communities. A couple quick things. If you go to the St. John Experience web Facebook page, I'm asking that you share this forum. We went live. So far, 500 additional people were watching with you. So we are asking you to help just amplify the voices of these candidates by going to the St. John Experience Facebook page and just sharing on your timelines. Thank you very much. Usually I go into something like deeper, right? But I gotta share that this election cycle, I'm so heartbroken. We are in such a dark place politically, and it bothers me. It bothers me. But I'm optimistic that love will win. We don't need to come to forums and see personal attacks on each other. Let's talk about policies and what you plan to do and the problems that we've identified. But we shouldn't use this space to personally attack anybody. So from national to local, it's just dark, y'all. But like I said, my faith in God tells me that at the end, love will win. Thank you for coming.
You want to do something about the darkness? Go vote. All right? Don't complain. Don't whine. Go vote. I want the moms of the two moderators, would you raise your hand, Ms. Cynthia and Ms. Karen? They did the hard work. Let's give them a round of applause.
Voting registration is available, amen, as you're exiting to my right, to your left. On behalf of the St. John Missionary Baptist Church, we want to say to each and every one of you, thank you. It is our desire to make sure that this church that is in the community, that it is also available not just for its members, but also for the community. It's a very important time in the life of this country. And as many of you tonight have made statements and questions, and then the questions from the moderators on tonight, you see the very importance of people going out and voting. Just to sit on the sidelines and to complain or to be upset with things does not change. We have to encourage others to go out to the poll and vote because change only comes from the inside and not from the outside. So if you want to see changes, they're on the bench. If you want to see changes within the sheriff's department, go to the polls and vote. We're thankful to each of these candidates who thought it not robbery to take time out of your schedules to come and to be here tonight for this forum. And we are greatly appreciative of you thinking it not robbery and thinking that we are important enough to hear the questions and to share your convictions with us here on tonight. We're grateful to all of the sponsors and organizers tonight as well. And then we are grateful for both of these moderators, amen, here on tonight. And that's right, yes. And then both of these proud papas. Yeah, the mothers as well. Yes, but I wanted to recognize these proud papas. They was standing up here doing all the introducing of the daughters. These proud papas. And they're rattlers. Amen. And so listen, we're not going to hold you any longer. Amen. Because our staff has to, get the facilities not only closed down and locked down, but then as well as ready for operations on tomorrow. So I'm going to ask if you would stand since we're in a house of worship. We're going to close with the word of prayer. We thank you for all of those that are viewing online on the Facebook and YouTube page. That is the St. John Boynton Experience, not with an S. It's not St. John's. Amen. It's the St. John Boynton Experience. And so please, ma'am, please, sir, tonight when you get a chance, go to your Facebook or your YouTube and share it. Let people know where to find it on YouTube. Share it on your Facebook page that your friends and your connections may also get a chance to view the forum that was held here on tonight. Give yourselves a hand as well for coming out to be informed. Father in heaven, we're grateful to you for life. We're grateful to you for health, and we're grateful to you for strength. God, as we have come and gathered here on this evening to hear from persons who are aspiring to be sheriff in Palm Beach County, persons who desire to be judge here in this county as well. We thank you for their desires. We thank you for all that we've heard on tonight. We thank you for organizers and moderators. But God, our prayer tonight is that you would motivate people that if they are not registered to vote, to go and register to vote. Our prayer tonight is that you would motivate people who are registered to vote to then go to polls and vote. We want who you desire to be elevated to these positions of authority and leadership. Then it is our prayer that once those persons come into these positions, that they would govern and lead, understanding that they have a responsibility to the people. And so, God, we want you to have your way and let your will be done. Bless us tonight with traveling grace to arrive to our desired destinations, finding things in a good and a godly condition. We'll be ever careful and mindful to give your name honor, glory, and praise. We pray this prayer tonight in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. God bless you.